Hello everybody, my name is Marlo and welcome to Esteria. This is my desert city that I have been building for the past 4.5 months in my TekTopia series. For those of you who are not regular viewers of my channel, you may not know what TekTopia is. Pretty much it's a mod created by TangoTek, hence the name, that makes Minecraft villagers a whole lot better. It allows you to build villages with a functioning and thriving population that really brings it to life. It's an amazing mod that I truly cannot recommend enough. So as I said, this is Esteria and I'm going to give you a tour of the place today, but before we do, let's take a look at its evolution. This is what the area looked like before we started building, and at the end of every episode I've been taking a screenshot to show the gradual progress being made each time, which turned out to be a pretty cool thing to do, as you can see, starting with nothing but desert and finishing with this magnificent oasis/Egyptian/Arabic city. We went through several different styles whilst making this, but never really settled on a certain one, which is why it's made up of several, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So right now we are outside the main city gates, which is where we have our 2 statues guarding the entranceway here, as well as some llamas in their pens, tied up waiting for their nomads to return from their daily visit. These poor guys have been here a while though, so I don't think they're going to be leaving anytime soon. There's the merchant coming in for the day, by the way. That's another addition to the TekTopia mod. You do all of your trading with that guy, but we also have our village banner and 2 of the 6 towers around the village wall. But if we just walk on through here, merchants off to his trader wagon, we can see the villager map, or the village map I should say, sorry, which wasn't meant to be quite as centralized as it is here, so that's a little bit of a happy accident. But yeah, this thing looks awesome. I could just stare at that all day. But if we carry on walking here, we end up in the marketplace where we have several different merchants who aren't actually in the game but using imagination here. But we have a fisherman, blacksmith, a herbalist, a jeweler, and somebody selling chickens apparently. But yeah, if we carry on this way, we enter one of the 2 most important buildings in our TekTopian village. So this is the town hall, where we can find the tradesman and the architect over there, and basically you can trade emeralds with these guys to get certain things to improve your village and villagers. These 2 guys, by the way, are Atum and Kepri, 2 of the village gods. Oh, having a seat. There's also chairs in this mod, which is awesome. 2 of the village gods, which are in the form of cats. A little bit of lore there that we discussed one episode. But now moving on to probably the most important building in this entire village is the town, not the town hall, sorry, the storage tower, which is where basically all of the villagers go to dump off their items they've collected during the day, which can get very busy at times and very noisy. It's actually quite calm right now, but yeah, this is like the main centerpiece to the entire village, and they kind of just all accumulate here and centered around this build, which yeah, pretty cool to see considering the layout of the village is very structured. If we just take a bird's eye view here, you can see we've got 4 offshoots, one leading to the entranceway there, which we just walked up with the town hall and marketplace. Over on this side we have the tree farm over there, which is where you can see a druid growing up a tree, and the lumberjacks cut them all down, of course. And then over on this side we have the animal pens. You can see the ranchers tending to the animals. And then finally over on this side we have all of our crops, which is where the farmers spend most of their days. The rest of the village is really split up into 4 different quarters, all of them containing separate buildings that have different functions throughout the village. Some of them have homes, some of them have cosmetic buildings. There's a whole lot going on here, so we'll start at this one and work our way around. I like to call this area the housing district because for some reason this is where most of our houses have accumulated, and I'm so glad they have, because they have these narrow alleyways all leading through to all of the homes, which has a really nice atmosphere when you're walking through here. I absolutely love it. It's definitely my favorite part of the village, purely for the closeness of all of these buildings. Like, look at this here. It's a bit too close for comfort almost, but you can hear an anvil being smacked away over here, which is very loud. This is one of the blacksmiths in the village. Over here is where the mine shafts are. We have a little bit of an oasis over in this little spot here, a trebuchet as part of the village's defense system. But yeah, let's quickly head down into the mine shaft, and I think the quickest way to do that is simply to just drop in here, land on the ores all being brought up, and as you can see, this is where the miners and the druids spend a good amount of their days. For some reason these have become inactive, that's why some of them are shiny and some of them aren't. But yeah, this is the mine shaft, another one of the builds we've done in the village, and if I can just fly up here, that would be very helpful. You can see, yeah, this is the view from above. We have the barracks over here, which is where the guards all train and sleep away the night. There's one of them up there on the roof doing a good job, I suppose. We also have a couple of ancient ruins elsewhere in the village. This is one of them. And then possibly my favorite build in this entire place is the under and out bar and inn. Basically, this building right here is several tokens, so I've got several of these shiny things placed down to create one big building. At the moment, it's not exactly thriving because it's not nighttime, but this is the bar, the tavern, where the villagers all come to drink. Upstairs, we have the kitchen, which is where the chefs spend a lot of their time cooking up the food. None of them in here right now, but then if we go down to the under and out part of it, we can see we have several different rooms here, which is where the villagers, or at least some of them, there's some twinkling hearts making a lot of noise, but yeah, this is where some of the villagers sleep, so it's kind of like a inn slash bar slash kitchen restaurant thing all in one. You may be wondering, how is the village staying so bright when it's pitch black outside? That is because I have a mod installed into this series called Invisiblights. Pretty much is an invisible lighting source mod. It costs glowstone to place them down and does the same thing as torch spam would, whilst not looking horrendously ugly. So it allows me to keep the village safe and bright so everybody can see things and eradicate mob spawns, whilst also, yeah, not getting it to look horribly ugly with a million torches placed down. So just in case you're wondering about that, that is what's going on. So let's talk about this section over here. We have quite a bit more going on as opposed to this one mainly containing houses. We do still have a couple of homes placed down, but we also have some other buildings here, like the library, a wizard tower which has a pretty cool view through the gap in the houses here. We have a school with this building here, which is where the children, when we do spawn them in, that's how you get children in TekTopia, you spawn them in using the hearts, which you guys have heard twinkling a couple times before, but this is where they would go to learn. We've got the counting cubes here on the table and the lunch break area out round the back here. We also have another tavern located there, and this building right here we actually have duplicated on both sides. It's the butchery, so the butchers in the village would take the animals from their pens when they're getting too crowded and do the deed in there, which would feed our village. So it's a good thing, maybe not a very nice thing, but it's a necessary. The villagers need to eat. And we also have a couple of gardens and ponds that you'll see variously dotted around the village. We've got a play area over here and a little bit of a picnic area over here. I'm imagining the adults of the village go to this one while their kids go off and play in this area over here. And maybe a little bit of a weird location for it, but we've got the other barracks in this section here, as the 10 that were over in the other one wasn't quite enough to protect this entire village. And this building right here is a greenhouse, which actually, if we just head inside here and go down these steps, as well as all of these ones here, we then end up at the underground tree farm, because I didn't have enough room on the surface to place down all of the trees for the lumberjacks to get enough logs to supply enough logs basically for the entire village, so had to build that giant thing underground there. But we also got some rabbits down here with some carrots for them to nibble on whilst the villagers harvest from them. A chicken holding up the entire library. If I was to take him out, this thing would crumble to the ground. That's 100%. We have the meeting hall over here, which is where the village elders go to discuss any plans with the village, or if they need to come to a decision. They all meet here and do some talking. Another one of these ponds I was talking about with a bridge going across, and I think that is all of the builds in this section over here. I should say there's a good chance I could miss a couple of them, so those of you who are watchers of the series and view it regularly, you may have some favorite builds that I could potentially miss out, so I'm sorry if I do that. I'm also not going to be able to show you the inside and out of all of the builds, otherwise this video is going to be, you know, over an hour long, honestly, and I'm trying to keep it at a fairly short length. Okay, let's move on to this quadrant over here, which contains, I think, the highest building in the village, aside from the tower that I'm stood on here, of course, which is the Grand Library. So I built this thing kind of doing it on purpose so that it towered above everything else in its close surroundings. It's pretty massive, so let's actually head inside here. You can see some villagers are reading books, leveling up their intelligence, getting smart. leveling up this number here. So it's got a bit of a funky ceiling. We've got an enchanter's room in the middle, which is where the enchanter would go figure, right? So yeah, grand library there. Now I'm a little bit disorientated as where to go. We've got a silo here containing all sorts of grain from the crops just beside it. A few more houses in this one. There's quite a lot of living accommodation in this quarter, but it's also containing my house. This is where I live, in this tiny humble abode, which if we just head inside here, we actually fall down into an underground base, which is where I store all of my items pretty much. We've got a well here with a very deep well, lots of squid. I've caught some squid in my well, as well as the merchant's wagon. So you can see this guy here, who you trade with to get your emeralds to buy things from the architect and tradesman inside. This is where he goes every day, and it looks like he's just come in on Llamaback, basically. Yeah, and then a few more houses around this area. We can see the back of the marketplace, and over here we have our 3 llamas, Spit, Lingo and Lizzie, I think are their names. I'm pretty sure I named them quite a while ago, so kind of forgotten. We have another kitchen over there, you can see from that token. This building right here, we actually have several of them dotted around the village. It's a guard post, which is where guards will go and stand watch. Is there one up there right now? Can't quite tell. Over here is where we've got somebody selling all sorts of cloth and general material like that. So a bunch of banners and some wool and that sort of stuff. Very, very colourful build indeed. Over here we have one of those ancient ruins again. This is meant to be a shrine, of course, over the years has crumbled down and left in ruins. We've got a cactus field, ones with giant cactuses because, well, why not, right? We also have another smithy over here, which doesn't currently have a blacksmith in, but this is where they go to do some work. They've got the forge lit on the outside and the inside, so they can do work both of the times. And I think the rest of this place is general houses. I don't think I've missed anything here, but I think it's this house here, yeah. As everybody's favorite llama. His name is Larry, and he likes to sit on the table, and when he's not doing that, he's sticking his head through the trapdoors. He is quite the character in this series. Last but not least, we have this section over here, which actually has quite a few cosmetic buildings that serve no purpose other than to look nice, such as this herbalist shop, which is meant to be selling all sorts of herbs and vines apparently, and an overgrowth of leaves. So yeah, very, very messy building, that one, but I think it's a pretty cool one. Yet another ancient ruin here. This is meant to be my rendition of the desert temples that you get in vanilla Minecraft, but that has kind of been buried underground, and we can just see the tops of them poking up here. We also have a bathhouse. There's also several of these like carts around the village, which you have probably seen as we've been walking around. So we've got the bathhouse here, and if you go down, it's nice and toasty. We've got a fire crackling away, which you can hear. It's got a bit of a weird roof. If I just fly up here and show you, for some reason I put water on the top. I never really liked that and got rid of it. I don't quite know why, but yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. This big building is a church, so people when I go to get married here and whatnot and have a dinner outside. We of course have some more houses yet again, and if we head on over this way, you can see there's another one of these kitchens, which is a little bit like a restaurant type of thing. We have the cleric's house, so this is where clerics originally did live, but obviously moved out and switched beds, as villagers often do in TekTopia. But this is where all of the healing and that sort of stuff goes on in Esteria. We have an iron golem in this pond here, drowning away. He's having a good time, I promise. This little area, this section, is where the sandstone cutter, I think we called him. Basically, this is where all of the sandstone is made throughout the village, so a cart comes in and dumps off all of the sand. It's then gone through some sort of machines and taken off on another cart over there. This building right here is very, very majestic and grand, but even more so from the inside where we have all of our treasures. This is the treasury, so we've got a bunch of valuable blocks placed in here, which is, yeah, where the people of Esteria kind of keep their wealth, I suppose. We've got a bunch of smaller houses over here, which is meant to be like the lumber huts, so the lumberjacks that would be chopping trees over just past the wall there, or this side of the wall, I should say, sorry. This is where they're meant to be living, and they've got a little campfire here. Their own little community, I suppose. And then I think, oh, we have this area here, which I must show you. We have some ancient tombs, so if we just drop down here, maybe not the best way to go about it. We have a smaller area here with the dead. You can even hear them speak to you sometimes. With this big old hall over here, which is where, I forgot what we called him, but I think his name was Tekuran or something like that. An old king of Esteria was buried here in his sarcophagus in the center of the room. And then last but not least, we have this build right here, which I know is some of your guys' favorite one in the village. This is our Sphinx here, who is a little bit chunky. Maybe let's get a better view of him and take a flyby. He's a little bit fat. He's a fat cat, but it's meant to be like a bit of an Egyptian Sphinx and a very, monumental part of Esteria's culture. And this is where villagers would go to. I forgot your name. Tefnut, the Egyptian king of, or goddess of something, I forget, my Egyptian mythology isn't particularly good, but yeah, they would go to donate sacrifices and that sort of stuff. So we've got a cat living in here inside of our chunky Sphinx, which has a little bit of a rather hypnotizing face. This is a very weird build and honestly quite funny to look at, but I and many of you guys who watch the series absolutely love this thing. Anyways guys, I think that is going to be it for today's tour. I do apologise for not being able to get around to everything in the village in close detail, but if you would like to have a look around for yourself, then there's actually going to be a world download in the description, so you can download that, put it in your saves folder and have a look around Esteria for yourself. As well as my first village in this series of Mecklen'svale, a small medieval town inside of a valley. They are within the same world, so you can check both of them out at the same time. But yeah, thank you guys ever so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.